If sine theta is negative 2/3 with theta in quadrant 3, what is cosine theta? So first I'll draw a picture. One of the definitions of sine comes from the acronym SOHCAHTOA, where sine of theta is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Cosine theta is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And tan theta is opposite over adjacent. So in this case, because they're given sine as a fraction, we could treat the -2 as the opposite and the 3 as the hypotenuse. Now, the opposite and the adjacent are legs of a right triangle, but 3 is the diagonal hypotenuse. Okay, that's the angle, so I'll let that be theta, and now we can draw the two legs of this right triangle. So that's one of them. Here's another one. Alright, so if that's my theta, then it's clear that this is the hypotenuse, and the opposite leg is going to be the one that's far away from theta. And so you want that opposite leg to be a -2, whereas the hypotenuse is a 3. Yeah, so when you have sine of an angle equal in a fraction, the numerator of the fraction has to be the leg of the right triangle that's not touching the theta. It's called the opposite leg. And so you want to take that number and put it, attach it to the opposite leg of the right triangle. And then your hypotenuse, the 3, is the diagonal of the right triangle. So what that means is you've got an unknown leg here. I'll call it A for adjacent. So now you'd want to use Pythagorean theorem. So Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. These are the two legs of the right triangle. That's the A, and the yellow one can be the B, and then the green is the hypotenuse C. So we have to plug those numbers in, leave an A as an unknown. So a squared is 5, and a is going to be radical 5. So now we know the length of the adjacent side. It's radical 5 according to Pythagorean theorem. So now they're asking for the cosine of theta, and according to SOHCAHTOA, the definition of cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So you're using that same angle theta, but now you're going to use the blue, which is the adjacent side, that's the radical 5, and then divide that by the hypotenuse, which is the 3. So cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is radical 5 over 3. But we also have to consider the directionality of it. So when your theta is in quadrant 3, this should give us a negative cosine value, because positive cosine would be on the right of the origin. On the left we have negative cosine values. So you just have to think about that when you give your final answer. So yeah, it should be negative radical 5 over 3.